So I'm filming this on a Sunday, and by the time you'll be watching this video, it will have been at least over a week since Highguard was released to the public. I have to edit this video, obviously, so it'll probably be released like on Tuesday or Wednesday, but since then, it will have been a week since Highguard was released. And I really want to talk about this game because I was very much looking forward to it, despite a lot of the criticism from other YouTubers and people talking about the game upon its announcement from the Game Awards. But I really just wanted to talk about kind of how the game evolved into kind of like this negative feedback atmosphere, and also talk about my experience playing the game, because I really think overall at the end of the day, even though a game has this negative connotation towards it with the feedback that it has from trailers and everything, at the end of the day, I'm more focused on what was the response to its release. And we're going to talk about all of this stuff piling up to its release and the stuff before that, obviously. But let's talk about Highguard, this game that was kind of announced out of nowhere. Then there was radio silence. And then now all of a sudden it's been released, and there has been a lot of discussion based on this game, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's just a basic game. There's still a lot to unpack here. So Highguard was a new video game that was being announced at the Video Game Awards, and there was a lot of feedback regarding if the game merited a final reveal at the Video Game Awards. The initial reactions that a lot of viewers said was that it looked like another hero shooter. It looked like another Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, etc. But I, for one, was very optimistic, being that the keywords were the people who made Apex Legends and Titanfall were involved in this. Now, that being said, that means nothing to me sometimes, because usually when key people in a team leave a company to go make their own game, sometimes that doesn't work as well. Perfect examples of that include Dead Space. Some people left Dead Space to go make the Callisto Protocol. Yeah, that game, I had no fun playing that game. People who made Left 4 Dead, they went on to develop a new game, modern iteration of that. I don't remember what the name was, but it was a 4-player co-op zombie game. It was essentially them trying to do Left 4 Dead, and it didn't perform well. We've seen this countless times where people will leave a company to make their own game, and it's very similar to what they worked on in the past. And now we have essentially a Apex Legends thing, Highguard. And when people saw that initial trailer, there was a lot of neutral feedback. People didn't really understand what the game was. It was kind of this medieval shooter. I thought it looked different for the most part. It kind of reminded me of what steampunk tries to do, where they try to implement this kind of Victorian era style with these modern aesthetics like guns and robotics and stuff like that. It kind of felt like they were trying to do that with this kind of medieval knights tone. It was different, I will admit, for the most part, but it wasn't anything that turned me away from the game. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm interested in playing this. But this trailer really begged the question to a lot of viewers of the Game Awards: did this trailer merit a final reveal at this event? And I don't know. I thought it was cool. I just kind of accepted it for what it was. Oh, it's another game it's a new multiplayer game. This could be big. Maybe that being the last thing that I saw, maybe that's why I was so hyped for it, because it was the last thing that I remembered from the reveals and everything. But I'm not gonna lie, it was also because it was from key people who brought us Titanfall and Apex Legends. I am praying to God that one day we get a Titanfall 3, but I don't know. There's no telling. Regardless of what your thoughts were on this trailer, not only were we getting this game very soon, on January 26th, which was last week, we were getting it for free. Yes, there is downloadable content that you can get, but the game, for the most part, is free. But since that reveal, there was nothing else about this game that was being revealed. The developers kind of went radio silent. There was nothing being revealed on the social media pages. All that we had to go on was this initial trailer, and that the game was being released on the 26th. And then all of a sudden, we started getting stuff on the social media pages 3 days prior to the game's release. And finally, the game came out last Monday, and I actually did a live stream on it. That's actually one of my New Year's resolutions for my YouTube channel specifically, is to do a little bit more live streaming, gaming content. So I started the year playing Highguard. That was really, really fun. I had some people come on, and I was able to showcase to them the game, and there was a lot of commentary on how we felt about it. And yeah, let's just talk about this game and the response that it had in the community. In terms of the community, it was bad. It was pretty bad. So to give you some perspective on how many people played this game on launch, the game debuted to 100,000 players on Steam. Since researching this game, it's kind of given me some perspective on like, you know, what categorizes a game as being successful on Steam, since I've been getting into like the PC gaming realm. And when the game debuted, it was at 100,000, but literally in the span of 24 hours, it went down to 10,000 players. To give you some perspective, Arc Raiders, which was released back in like October, we're now approaching February. The game right now, as it stands today, as I'm looking at it online, is at 259,000 players. So a game that's been out for a good like 4 months and a game that just was released, that's a huge significant difference. This game is not doing well. If we go to the top 5, we see stuff like Counter-Strike 2, which has been out for years, Dota 2, Arc Raiders, Marvel Rivals. These games are still able to maintain like a huge player count. Counter-Strike 2, as old as that game is, that has 718,000 players. Highguard, which is a game that is incredibly new, it was announced at one of the biggest showcases of all time that beat the Super Bowl, is dwindling to 10,000 players. It's not even on the top 100, and that is incredibly sad. People are comparing this game to that of Concord. Now, if you don't know what Concord is one of the biggest failures in the video game industry ever. That game had such a significant low player count that they ended up just like canceling the game and they refunded people. It's known as one of the biggest failures in the video game industry, and I don't know anything about it. I've never played the game. I don't know any of the key faces. I don't know what the game is really even. I'm assuming that it's a hero shooter, but the fact that like I've never played this game, I don't know really a whole lot about it, and that I know that it is a commercial failure showcases how much of a failure it actually is. But what's interesting about like Highguard is that like I heard about the game and that I've been playing it. I've actually been playing it multiple times on my PC. And I want to actually just give kind of like my perspective on the game itself now that we've kind of acknowledged the context as to how this game is being received, how many players are playing it, and just kind of seeing like if this game can evolve into that of like something that could be commercially successful, that like Valorant or Fortnite, or just, I don't know. I have so many like neutral conflicting thoughts about the game that I really just want to discuss and start a conversation. So yeah, when I saw the trailer for Highguard, it was being kind of marketed as like this hero shooter, but like it's actually very interesting to see that this game is so much more than that, and actually like too much. Highguard is a multiplayer game that has hero shooter aspects. There are different characters that you can play as that have their own abilities, whether it be from an offense position or a defense position. There are these characters that have different abilities where if you have a certain play style, they're readily available. Very much like Apex Legends. And speaking of Apex Legends, there are key aspects of this game that involve you going around this map trying to find different items to help you boost your stamina and your endurance to being shot at, whether that be wearing armor or shields, finding guns that are upgraded based on color coding, very much like Apex Legends. The objective of the game is to essentially break into your enemy's base and blow it up. And the game utilizes a lot of like these different play styles that we've seen in other games like Domination, Capture the Flag, and just it's a mix of all these different things where I feel as though because of all these mixes that are coming together, the game has a pacing problem. And that's very weird for me to say because the game is a multiplayer game. Usually when we're talking about pacing, we're talking about that from the perspective of like a story. But we're talking about this from the perspective of a multiplayer game, which is very odd for me to say, but as I'm explaining the different steps of a conventional game in Highguard, you'll probably understand where I'm coming from. So the game starts out with you and 2 other players at your base, and you are essentially setting up your defenses, whether that be reinforcing your doors, your walls, your windows. You're taking this time to essentially fortify your base so that when enemy players are coming in, they have a harder time getting to where they need to plant their bombs. After that step, your walls are opened up to where you have this large landscape on this map, and you have to try to find resources. And finding resources can range from finding a chest that has armor and guns, and you can even improve upon these resources you found by breaking these crystals in this kind of like a Minecraft way, which kind of reminded me how much I hate how Minecraft affected the video game genre, where it just seems like every video game now has to have like this mechanic where you have this sword or axe where you break down something and it gives you this income to buy new things. Every game has that now, and this game has it as well. After all the players from the opposing teams collect their resources, there is an item that is announced called Shield Breaker, and all the players reach this item, and there is a shootout in trying to grab this item from one another. That's where the capture the flag aspect comes into play. And the player who gets this item has to take it to the enemy base in order to break the wall. And this launches a raid where you have to take over the enemy base, and you have to plant the bombs in the different locations on the base. And while doing this, you are utilizing the weapons and armor you have found beforehand to verse the players that are at their base, and you have to try to plant at least, I believe, 2 bombs in order to win the game. And the opposing players essentially have the option of trying to stop you from planting these bombs, thus restarting the cycle of doing all of this over again. And yeah, that's Highguard. It's essentially capture the flag and domination with a little bit of, you know, the hero shooter aspect with fucking Minecraft. I'm not gonna lie, there are aspects of this game that I do find fun. It's not like I played the game and I'm like, okay, this is like not fun to me. I don't want to play this anymore. I do find myself playing this a couple times throughout the week because I'm interested in kind of just seeing, like, you know, not only like if the player count has increased or if like there's been any updates to like improve upon the game. The core mechanics of the game, I feel as though are investing enough. I do like how there is this kind of style that we haven't seen before, like this medieval shooter aspect with these knights, and where these wardens, that's what the heroes are called, have their different abilities. I think there's a lot about this game that makes it competitive enough to where my investment is there. I just think that there is a lot of steps within this game that kind of hinder it from being better. All these different aspects of it trying to like take from other games like Apex Legends or Minecraft or Overwatch, all these, it's trying to be all these different games when it really fails to have an identity of its own beyond like its look. I think the medieval aspect is the coolest part. I love the idea that like you can conjure a horse, and when you have Shield Breaker, you're able to like go across a map trying to rush this sword to like plant it at the enemy base. I think that's the most part where the game has its own identity, but beyond that, it's really just like any other multiplayer game. And it doesn't help that the game had a lot of issues when it was launched on Monday. There were a lot of complaints that the game just wasn't working. And that's kind of the experience that I had with Highguard on PC. There were aspects of this game where it was just full out glitchy, and us as players were kicked out of games. And this is another like criticism where the steps of this game comes in. Like I talked about, like all these different steps. Imagine like doing all these different steps where like you're fortifying like your base, you're finding all of these resources, you're versing all these players, you've gotten Shield Breaker, which is an essential item to like winning the game. You're using your horse to rush over to the enemy base, you plant Shield Breaker, and your game ends. I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm trying to figure it. Last match on the video. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. It's so fucking frustrating. That is one of the things that I experienced on the game's launch, was just like being kicked out of a game multiple times. And when a game doesn't work, it doesn't surprise me that its player count goes down low. And not gonna lie, when I was playing the game, a part of me was like, man, I haven't played Apex Legends in a while. Like, and it was kind of the same thing when I was playing the Callisto Protocol. I was playing that game and I was like, man, I really cannot wait for the Dead Space remake. And it's such a shame, because like you see like these people who clearly love like this game that they were working on in the past, and they were no longer involved with the company that they were with, and they decided like, hey, we're gonna make our own game. We're gonna try to like make like a spiritual successor. And spiritual successors, like, you know, we've seen those happen countless of times and they've been incredibly successful. That of like Assassin's Creed taking homage to like the Prince of Persia. We've seen this happen before in a positive way, and it sucks to see when people clearly love like a certain IP or genre and they're trying to make it their own, and they have like this incredible debut at the Game Awards to where they're showcasing like this game that they've been working on to millions of people, and they're releasing it for free. I will say that that is the pro of this, is that like it's a free game. You know, we didn't have to really pay for it. It's free, it's out there, and it's fun for the most part when it works. There have been some updates to the game since its release, but I don't think anything that really kind of merits like anything to boost the game to where it's at right now. So the game actually came out with like one game mode. It was 3v3. 3 players versus 3 players. Let's see what else there are. Firing range, sharpen your skills, ranked mode. So the only thing that I can play is this 3v3 sieges. Okay. And I think that is something that like, I think really affected the game's quality, was that like it had one game mode option. It would have been cool if there was like other stuff like horse racing or stuff like that, but, or maybe just like even team deathmatch. Like, I don't know why like we've kind of veered away from like team deathmatch. Like it kind of just seems like games have to be kind of like this battle royale kind of style, or this hero shooter domination kind of playlist that we've been accustomed to since like 2016. We've kind of veered away from conventional Halo, which by the way, I love Halo. I've been playing that a lot more as of late on my PC, so can't wait for the Halo remake, even though it doesn't have multiplayer. Please put multiplayer in there. So to counteract this, the developers decided to release 5v5, which is like, cool, you added 2 more players on each team. That really didn't do anything. I don't know, I feel as though like if you were to add more playlists or game modes to like this game, it would have added more to the identity that it's lacking. But overall, like, yeah, that's like my kind of thoughts on Highguard and like where the game is at. And I don't know, I guess I'll give kind of like my overall feelings on the game. The game is fine. I think there's just like too many extra steps that like you have to go through to like get to the game. Once we get to like the actual like versus part where you're shooting everybody, it's very satisfying taking down enemy players. I think that's like the positive that I can give the game. Besides the horse riding. The horse riding is like really cool. I'm not really much of like a capture the flag kind of person, but it is kind of exhilarating when like, I've got shield breaker, let's go. Like there is a lot of positive praise that I can give this game, but unfortunately there is just so much that the game, there are so many games that the game is trying to take away from to kind of like meet this kind of quota of this is what everyone is playing now, this is what people are invested in, that the game fails to be its own identity, which it has the ability to be its own identity given like the look of what the game is and this medieval knights factor. I think it's pretty cool, it's different. But unfortunately, the game mechanics before you actually get into the versing, where you have to collect resources and fortify your bases, I don't know. I just feel like this game has a lot to improve on. Do I want this game to fail? Do I want it to be the next Concord? No, absolutely not. I have been on board with this game ever since I saw the trailer back in December. I just think that the game has to have a little bit more variety. I think if they added more game modes and just like more things to do party wise, like if they looked at like, you know, what Halo 3 did, I think there's a lot that you can do with this game. But everyone nowadays is so focused on this hero shooter battle royale and not the simplicity of like team deathmatch and free for all. I don't know, I kind of miss those days. But overall, Highguard is fine. I still want to play more. If they release more, I will play it. I don't know. I think there's a lot of improvement that the game can do. I'm curious as to see where it is in the next year or so. I don't want it to get shut down. I don't want it to be the next Concord, but clearly there's a lot that needs to be happening to improve upon this game's player count because nobody's playing this game. And I think if they were to just add more stuff, I think this game could be really special. Just take away certain things, pinpoint what makes the game great, and we might all come back. We'll see. Let me know if you have played the game. I'm very curious as to hear your thoughts. Like, I want to know, like, do you guys actually like this game? I kind of like it for the most part. I just feel like the extra steps, again, are just very repetitive. I see a good game in this. I don't want to be like overall negative because I have been playing this game multiple times. There have been times where like I am really good at the game. Maybe that's why I have such a soft spot for it, because I see like, oh, I'm actually like pretty good at this. Like, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Highguard. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet for more movie related content, gaming related content, and so on. Thank you guys so much. I am Corbin Stuckey, and thank you for watching.